Alright, now I know 2020's biggest train wreck was probably CyberPunk 2077, and I get that people have their issues with the game, and I'm definitely in agreement that the game was a colossal disappointment given what people were expecting. Heading into the release of that game, I think some people saw it coming. However, there was this overwhelming amount of hype that I feel like people just got caught into it when, if you look at the tea leaves, the game got delayed 3 times towards the end of its development cycle, and whenever something like that happens, red flag immediately. You should have seen this coming, and a lot of people did see it coming, but a lot of people were absorbed with the hype and everything like that, and the game ended up being a colossal disappointment. I'm not here to argue that, but bear in mind, this game came out, 8 months ago? It hasn't been that long since the game was released. Guys, I find this hilarious, and I had to do a video on it just to let you guys know. CyberPunk 2077, a brand new copy of the game, is $10. Yes, it is $10 at Best Buy. Now, this is a daily deal, and it's going to be $10 today only, but I find this absolutely remarkable. Now, I saw the disappointment coming. I was talking about it a little bit when Cyberpunk got delayed over and over again, that, that is the sign of a game potentially being a disappointment, and more often than not, when something like that happens, especially paired with the insurmountable hype that this game had, it had all the makings to be a colossal disappointment, and it absolutely was that. However, if we objectively assess this game, is it the worst game of all time? Is it like this dumpster fire that is absolutely not worth playing? No, I really don't believe that's the case. Now, that is the case if you played this game on PlayStation 4, don't get me wrong, yes, that version is not good. And you can slice it, 13 frames per second ain't getting us through anything. I need to play games at 60 frames per second in 2021, damn it. But the game on PlayStation 5, from all accounts, has been really decent, I should say, from a performance standpoint. Obviously, there's bugs and glitches. I played the game on a relatively high-end PC, and, I was able to play the game ray tracing enabled, maxed out, everything like that, and had a good frame rate at 1440p, and, that was fine. I experienced a lot of bugs, a lot of glitches, and if you want to assess Cyberpunk 2077, does it have the most depth an RPG has? Is it that in-depth RPG that maybe a lot of us come to expect out of CDPR, especially after Witcher 3 and how Cyberpunk 2077 was promoted and what we thought we were going to get going into it? No, absolutely not. It doesn't have that level of depth. Really, it's missing a lot of fundamental elements that make an RPG, well, an RPG. It kind of comes across more as an open-world, first-person action-adventure game, and there's nothing wrong with that if it was promoted as such, and that's kind of how the issue arose. Now, if you can disconnect from the game's absolute panning on social media, if you can disconnect from the fact that there was this absurd level of hype going into the release of the game, and I understand why there was that hype. CD Projekt Red did a phenomenal job with the Witcher franchise, and generally speaking, their games are really good, and how they promoted Cyberpunk 2077, given that the game was announced back in 2011, when you have a near decade of hype and anticipation building up for a game, and this was supposed to be the next generation of RPG, yeah, I can see that level of hype building and building and building, but that's why sometimes it's really good to disconnect from social media, disconnect from a lot of hyperbole that is thrown around, and sometimes I'm guilty as charged. Sometimes I, stretch out games and get people a little bit too hyped up over certain games. Like, I was super excited for Final Fantasy 15 back in 2016, and I let 7-8 years of hype for that game kind of dissuade me from actually enjoying the game because of its issues with its narrative and a lot of other issues with that game, when, if you objectively assess Final Fantasy 15, it's an okay game. It's a pretty good game, and thankfully, I was able to do that with Cyberpunk 2077, so I didn't have this absolute venom towards the game that a lot of other people did. Now, if you spend $60 on it, especially if you got the PlayStation 4 version, your venom is absolutely warranted, and if you have a PlayStation 4, I probably wouldn't recommend playing Cyberpunk 2077 on the PlayStation 4, but guys, if you have a PS5, I would say this is a pretty good buy at $10. It's not a bad game. It's not a 2 out of 10 game. Like, I had people messaging me when this game came out because this was a game that really did break through to the cultural zeitgeist, and a lot of casual consumers were talking about it as well. Like, when I'm getting messages from people that haven't even played the game telling me it's a 2 out of 10, oh, this game is garbage, this is the worst game of all time, if you want to say it's the biggest disappointment of all time relative to the level of hype, feel free to say that. If you want to say it wasn't worth $60, absolutely, that is justified. If you want to say that the PlayStation 4 version of the game was a dumpster fire, that is fair, but if you play on a PlayStation 5, if you play on a PC for $10, let's reiterate this, $10 8 months after release, I think that's crazy. Like, I would buy it, honestly, and I don't know, maybe some of you guys played on the PS4 and you have a widely different opinion than me, but if you have a PS5, you know, not a bad buy at all at $10 in my opinion. So yeah, I do know that a lot of people were disappointed by the game, but I also expected that well before the game was released, just because it had this grandiose level of hype and anticipation, and when the anticipation station gets to that level, I don't know, man. Like, I don't remember the last game that had the level of hype and anticipation that CyberPunk did, and with the combined triple delay that the game went through, that was immediate, and I was like, man, people are finna get disappointed with this one, and you know, that's why it's sometimes good to disconnect from our overwhelming anticipation for certain games. I mean, it's fine to get excited for games, but people were expecting CyberPunk 2077 to reinvent video games, and maybe CDPR did promote the game as such, and you were misled by them, and whatever the case may be on that, but you know, sometimes it's good to disconnect yourself from promotional hype as well, because at the end of the day, there's like a billion games coming out every year, and if one is a colossal disappointment, which Cyberpunk 2077 was, I don't want to change that narrative with this game. Relative to the hype, this game was a colossal disappointment. I'll say that over and over again, but if you really look at it objectively, if you look at it every year, you got hundreds of games coming out. A large portion of them are very high quality. You know, Cyberpunk 2077 being a disappointment shouldn't dissuade you from buying the game at $10. Like, that is pretty ridiculous, but definitely let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm out to lunch, maybe you guys think it's not even worth $10, but I think if you have a PlayStation 5, you're gonna get your money's worth. This is a game that I know a lot of people that did play the game, yes, they didn't like it, but they didn't love it, I should say. Some of them liked it, but the people that actually played this game and went into it objectively were like, it's a fine game. Like, it's a 6 out of 10 game, a 7 out of 10 game. It is not a 2 out of 10. It's a 2 out of 10 if you play it on the PlayStation 4. Let me reiterate that over and over again so people don't buy it on the PS4, especially the base PS4 and not the Pro. Don't do that. If you have a PS5, $10 is pretty good. It's gonna get a true next-gen update at some point as well, and I don't know, man. $10 is wild to me. 8 months later, like, I meme on Ubisoft for dropping prices on games that quickly, but Cyberpunk being $10 is just something that I didn't think I was gonna see. Like, I was expecting the disappointment station coming. I was not expecting $10 in less than a year for a brand new copy. Less than 8 months, or it's been a little over 8 months, but let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll leave a link in the description box below, but that's gonna do it for me. I am out. Peace. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.